Surgeons of Reddit, what's the weirdest object you've had to remove from someone's butt? I wasn't the surgeon. I was the patient's family doc and took care of him in the hospital for his short stay after. He had a cue ball get stuck. Not sure exactly what he thought would be the way to get it out. We had a lot of trouble getting it out. The conversation of the surgeons trying to come up with a way to get it out was pretty hilarious. In a vet, dog had eaten a whole roll of poop bags. The plastic baggies people use to clean up after their pets on walks. They unspoled in his gut and spread from stomach to colon. His owners realized what had happened when he started pooping out bags and brought him in through her. My coworker went in to cut him, and the scene she described was hilarious. He would intermittently strain a little and poop out a little section of bags. Someone would tear them off and he'd be okay for a bit, then poop out some more, like he was dispensing them for himself. He did great after surgery. Endotech here. Had a guy come in with a capped section of PVC pipe filled with mercury because he liked the sloshing when he jerk in his turkin. Had to call in hazmat and security had to be called when he became violent because they wouldn't give the mercury laden pipe back. A nurse. I've seen baseballs, loads of dildos, cans of soda, vegetables. There should be a public service announcement about using dildos in the bum. It needs to have balls or some sort of base so it doesn't get lost up there. Women's vaginal dildos don't need them, as there is only so far it will go. A doctor I worked with once told a man, it's okay if you want to put things in your rectum. You just have to use the right things. Years ago my nurse wife told me a man had an apple removed from his butt, but I never understood how this could be possible. I often think about this, but have never asked her for more details. I'll ask her over the table at Christmas dinner tonight. Disappointing update, I didn't ask her at the Christmas dinner. There were small children around and everyone was having a nice time. It didn't seem cool to bring it up. Also no one else started any but stuff related conversations, providing an opening for my inquiry. I asked her today but also told her about my post on here. She didn't feel comfortable sharing the details with you guys, so I guess you'll just have to use your imagination. Someone posted about a similar situation and suggested they had possibly worked with my wife. Based on the details in their post, I'm sure it was a separate apple/butt incident. A enormous silicone butt plug which broke off at its base inside the patient. It was shaped like a soft cone on a stalk, with the base at the bottom. Had to remove it in pieces. Also, an orang in a bottle 2 years before this butt plug. A friend of mine is a surgery resident, and during one of her trauma shifts a meth head walked in with an incandescent light bulb in his colon. It was shoved in with a wide part first. They were dilating the rectum in an attempt to remove it, and the resident in charge of the procedure managed to accidentally separate the metal base from the glass globe, which immediately shattered under the pressure of the colon. They had to perform a partial colectomy to resolve the complication. Meth is a hell of a drug. A foreign body perectomy is a fairly common occurrence. In my time rotating in the air, the most common things have been yucca roots, avocados, shampoo bottles, etc. But that light bulb story is still unmatched. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen this ray. When I worked in the air, we had a guy come in with a 6 battery mag light stuck up Main Street. The funny part is that it was inserted bulb out and it was turned on. So we laid him down prone and the doc spread his cheeks. Then the room lit up like he just cracked open Marcellus Wallace's briefcase. Back when I was an tech, we had this guy come in with a full-size bottle of O5 shampoo up his butt. Of course he said he fell on it in the shower. You could clearly see it on the x-ray. It was pretty spectacular. The best part was he knew exactly what needed to be done to get it out, suggesting that this wasn't the first time. He asked for conscious sedation and for someone to pull it out. Well, the ed doctor tried that, then tried to manually get it out with forceps, and was essentially elbow deep in this dude. But couldn't get it. He had to go to the operating room to get it taken out. I bumped into the surgeon a few days later and asked him how it went. He joked to me that after we knocked him out, I grabbed a plunger out of the bathroom and got it out that way, but then told me all he had to do was stick some suction up there till he felt it connect, and then slowly pulled it out. According to the surgeon, this guy never presented any sort of identification or insurance card and demanded to pay his entire bill before he left. Usually takes some time for bills to get finalized. He paid it completely in cash and then left via a taxi. I'd be more interested in what non-medical people have had to help people remove from their butts. Not my story. My friend is a radiographer. A guy came into the hospital with Barbie dolls up his butt. After scans, one came out without too much issue, but the other was too far up. They were worried that, if it was pulled out, its arms would open and puncture the bowel. So they scheduled surgery. The X-ray staff waiting excitedly for news. The surgeon then returned and with a serious voice announced, "We've found Ken." Not me, but a good friend I have known since 6th grade who is an emergency room drive. Straight couple in their early 20s, and they were using a vibrator on her. They switch. He said it was his first time, and they had lube everywhere, and the slim 6-inch vibrator disappeared all the way up in him while it was still on. They waited and tried to get it out on their own and finally went into the ER. They were going to wait till the batteries died, but it was getting late. My buddy tried to get it out, but couldn't get it. He told the guy they might have to do surgery to get it. The guy asks my buddy if he has to go and can he call his mom and tell her. My buddy laughs and says, "You are 22 and you get to call your mom to tell her you have a buzzing vibrator in your ass that might be perforating your colon." Then my buddy remembers a guy he went to medical school who works in the same hospital. He has freaky long thin fingers like it that might work. The other doctor gloves up and gets the vibrator still buzzing out of him. Just a FYI, it is really easy for this to happen. So limit the lube on your hands. Your colon gets like a suction on it and things go in easy like what happened to these guys. Edited sub vibrator where dildo was. Son of a doctor here. My dad removed an entire peeled sweet potato from someone's colon once. He swore that he had just slipped and fell on it. Maybe he was just cooking while naked. He peeled the potato, put it on the floor so he can get something from the fridge, and who ops just slips and falls right on the potato. We received a patient with horrible pain that felt like constipation. He couldn't poop and laxatives weren't helping. We soon found out that the blockage wasn't just constipation. It was a string of beads several meters long that had become tangled into an ugly ball inside. I had to snip it apart and carefully pull pieces of it out. When most of it was out, his asshole became a rocket engine with diarrhea as the propellant. Does this mean you are a rocket surgeon now? I've seen a small size Fanta orange soda can get pulled straight out of a man's rectum. I once had a flatmate who was a nurse. She had a patient who came in complaining of stomach pains, which was caused by the cucumber head shoved up his butt a couple of days earlier. Apparently the smell caused by pickling a cucumber in your colon is extremely nasty. I'm not a doctor, but my cousin is a colorectal surgeon. She's dealt with at least 2 people who've put light bulbs in their butts. Not the butt, close to it. My sister worked in a urology clinic and has some very crazy stories ranging from at-home sex change procedures to this case in particular. She had to remove almost 200 BBS from a guy's bladder via his urethra one by one, as the guy had a fetish of shoving things down his urethra. MD, but not a surgeon. On my surgery we had to remove a mini Nerf football from someone's butt. He kept apologizing and saying he wasn't gay. Later, the attending surgeon told us that it's always the straight guys coming in with stuff up their butts and they always try explaining that they aren't gay. Girl I know had suspected cervical cancer. Saw 2 different doctors before a specialist examined her surrounded by trainee doctors. Grabbed and pulled on what everyone thought was an inflamed, infected, tumorous cervix. It was a love egg. It had been in there for 3 months. Had a friend in med school whose assignment was to figure out how his cadaver died. He found about $5 in quarters up the man's ass. Don't shove metal up your ass, metal poisoning is real. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.